Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am Dr. Sidane Ruby, aka RubieAllee from RubieAllee.com, and this is called to Motherhood, where I share with you guys everything that I've been up to since walking away from my career as a dentist to being a wife and mother full time.
So guys, guess what? I'm sharing my birth story with you guys. Finally sharing my birth story with you guys. The first one, that is. And you guys know that, oh god, I can hear the fridge, and I know that you can hear the fridge, but anyway, you cannot tell me that you never hear the fridge stop just now. Anyway, remember guys, I have 2 children. So the first time I gave birth, I actually did induce my labor, and I had an epidural very late. I was already 10 centimeters dilated, and then I got an epidural. I'm gonna share that birth story with you right now. I actually did write a blog post about it, so I'll link that in the description of the video. I'm gonna talk about my second time giving birth in a different video, which is when I naturally went into labor and I gave birth naturally 9 months ago. So we'll talk about that in another video, but today I'm sharing my first time giving birth story with you right now. So guys, when I was pregnant with Isaiah, I was very scared. The first time, guys, deciding to give birth for the first time is very scary. If you are pregnant right now, then congrats on choosing to become a mother. It's very serious business. And if you're anxious, I just want to tell you to trust God on this journey, and to pray, because you're going through this process with Him by yourself. Really, it's just you and Him, and no amounts of videos that you're gonna watch or anybody else's story is gonna prepare you for your own unique experience. You're gonna go through that process with God by yourself. So just trust Him with the process and keep praying, because really it's just between you and God, to be honest. So you have to be ready to pray for the rest of your life, to be honest. No jokes. And before I came down here to record, I was having my conversations with God and myself as usual, and I said, what was something that somebody said to me when I was pregnant with Isaiah that stood out the most? And I remember one of my colleagues saying to me, shout out to you, Dr. Montague Williams, big up yourself. She said to me, just know that it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful, and you can do it. You can do it. It's going to be painful. Don't trick yourself into believing that it's not going to hurt. It is going to hurt, and just know that, accept that, and prepare for that. And know too as well that even though it's going to be painful, you can do it, and just trust God in the process. That's what she said to me, and honestly, it did something for me mentally. It made me prepare myself mentally for the pain. I think you just need to prepare yourself mentally for the pain and be open to laboring. Labor is a serious thing. I saw this lady on somewhere on the internet saying that you know, she's educating people about how to have a pain-free birth. And boy, if she really know how to do that, then great. And if she can teach people how to do that, great. But if I can reference the Bible, it did tell you that you're always gonna come and that it's gonna be painful, and that's just what it is. So I just stick to the word. But she seems to, you know, she's selling a course that says that she can teach you how to have a pain-free birth, and you know, that's great. Anyway, what are some of the reasons people induce their labor? Let's talk about that, because yes, I did consult with my husband upstairs before coming down here, because I know you guys think dentists aren't real doctors. That's fine. That's okay. I guess he's a real doctor, so he can tell me the real thing then, so I'm gonna share that with you guys. But this is not advice, this is not medical advice, this is just me sharing my birth story with you guys. The internet is there if you want to go and Google what, you know, why people induce their labor. But based on my limited knowledge, there are things that can happen medically why somebody would have an indication for induction, and those things could possibly be, you know, hypertension in pregnancy. So let's say you are hypertensive and then you get pregnant, that's hypertension in pregnancy. And then let's say you are diabetic and you get pregnant, then that's diabetes in pregnancy. But then there are people who get pregnant and develop hypertension or develop diabetes because they are pregnant, and then those are considered to be preeclampsia for hypertension and gestational diabetes if you develop diabetes in your pregnancy. There are some women who do have diabetes and hypertension linger as a situation that they have to deal with for the rest of their lives after pregnancy. So being pregnant, giving birth, this is something that you choose to, you know, you put your life on the line, and let nobody else tell you otherwise. We put our lives on the line to give birth and to do God's work. So very serious business, very serious supernatural business with God. So you have to stay in tune with your spirit and be praying to God, Jesus, for guidance and protection during this process, because it's not a joke process. Anyway, me now in my pregnancy, guys, was very, very, very scared. I didn't really move a lot because it was rough. Actually, I was depressed and I didn't realize that I was, you know, in a depressed state. And it was when I started experiencing postpartum depression that I realized that I was actually experiencing a depression during my pregnancy. And I think it happened after my second, like when I started my second trimester, and then my husband and I weren't in the same place anymore, and you know, he just wasn't there, and I was very unsure about a lot of things, and you know, the direction of my life, I didn't have any real direction on my life. I just got like fired from my job as a dentist. You know, I just didn't have any security in my life at the time, and my husband and I weren't married. Lots of things were going on, and I just was so stressed out, guys. I didn't live anywhere. My mother had to like step in and just be there for me, and it was just a lot going on, and I was just very stressed out. So when I did give birth, I went into a depression. It was very, very, very bad, guys. I will speak about that in a different video, but I really was depressed. I remember my doctor saying immediately after giving birth to my son that, you know, she could see the blues like on my face, because I was so I don't even, you know, really need to process this, but I thought I did process this, and I wrote a whole blog post about it. So I'm not sure why right now I feel like, why was I even depressed? I don't know, but I just think it was just the uncertainty of life at the time. I just really did not make peace with not knowing what's next, because I still don't know what's next, but I'm okay with that right now. I just was not okay with that. Anyway, I did not induce my labor for any of those reasons. I didn't have a medical indication for induction, so I had to wait until 39 weeks to induce my labor electively. I decided to induce my labor for social reasons, and simply because my husband and I were not in the same country, and so he wanted to be present for our delivery, and we chose to just induce labor so that he could be present for that, because he had to go back to the hospital that he was working to deliver other people's babies. Yeah, that's how it is for us, you know. Like, my husband spent most of my pregnancy catering to other women who are pregnant, and that was very hard for me, and it's not nice. It's very hard. The hospital doesn't give them that luxury of choosing to not be there because their wives are pregnant, or their girlfriends are pregnant, or their partners are pregnant. So I had to go through that process pretty lonely, because he was working, and yes, he was needed in that space to serve other women, but yeah, you know, I needed a little serving myself. But anyway, guys, we did that, and I was like 4 days away from my due date, so it wasn't anything too far away. You cannot induce your labor. I don't think the protocol is that you have to wait until 39 weeks if you are inducing your labor for social reasons. There are different stipulations for when induction should be done, depending on why you're doing it, where you are doing it. And yeah, inducing your labor just consists of you insert, and this is what I did. There are some people who get strung up with you can induce your labor via an IV, or you can induce your labor with Pitocin and all these other things that they do with IV. But for me, I use misoprostol pills, and what they do is they insert the pills close to your cervix, helps your cervix to soften and dilate, and therefore kick everything into gear, allowing the passage to open and allowing the baby to, you know, forward. So contractions are very painful, dilating is painful, and it was extremely painful. Now, I induced my labor, and I'm gonna just do a small comparison with how it was like when I went into labor naturally. The contractions were the same for me. Nothing different happened. I felt the same immense pressure and pain with my pelvis separating. It was the same type of pain. The only thing that I can say, obviously, that was different is when I got that epidural, after I was 10 centimeters dilated and it was time to push, I got an epidural. God, that painful, because I got the epidural during a contraction, and I can understand why you would want to give me the injection during the contraction. I guess you're trying to not allow me to have pain during the times when you're resting from. And I have very rapid deliveries, guys. Like, within 4 hours, my baby was here. Between the time of going into labor and baby being on the earth, 4 hours. Like, that's how quickly I gave birth. And it happened both times. So it wasn't a case where, okay, the induction caused me to have like a fast labor and delivery. It happened the same way with Israel when I gave birth to her naturally. So some people just have fast deliveries. Some people, days, they're in labor for days. I don't know which one is worse. I can't tell you, because both of mine were very rapid, fast and furious, guys. Furious. I was just bawling out to Jesus, honest to God. I was like, Jesus, help me, please help me, because real serious. And I cannot wait to tell you guys about my natural birth story, because it was quite something. I'm just now processing what that was like, but I really want to share that with you guys. For the induction, we went to the hospital, right? And I did not have anything like bags or anything. I decided to just go there, get the pills inserted. I thought I was just going to, get the pills inserted, go back home, chill for a little bit. My father is calling me. Is that my father calling me? Yes, I thought I was just gonna go home and that, I'd start to progress and maybe go back to the hospital the day after. Joke was on me. Joke was on me by the time I stepped foot out of that hospital, because the doctor did say to me, you can walk around the hospital for a little bit and see what happens, and then your husband could go back for your stuff. And in our heads, there's absolutely no way I would just go right into labor. I went right into labor, guys. Right into labor. And I went home. I was like 5 minutes away from the hospital. And by the time I got home, my mucus plug was out, which is the brown stuff you see when your cervix starts to dilate. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And then all of a sudden could not walk and just could not go down the stairs. And then I had to just call my mother, and we decided to just, go back, because I had to go back. Otherwise, I was gonna have a home birth, unassisted. But that didn't happen. I went back to the hospital, and by the time I got to the hospital, I was already 7 centimeters dilated, and the anesthesiologist was not there. And they called him, and then he showed up, gave me that thing, like, as it was time for me to push, and he just gave it to me very quickly, and it actually worked very rapidly, luckily for me. And here's my issue with epidurals, and that's just this is my personal opinion and based on my experience. Yes, I needed it to kind of help me with pushing, because I honestly was very scared and I really could not manage the pain. Like, honestly, I was not managing the pain. And I don't think I would have pushed if I didn't have that assistance with relieving myself from that pain, because it was just too much to perceive. Like, it was just a lot. I don't think my brain was perceiving what was going on, just how much that pain was shutting my brain down. It was serious, guys. But anyway, I could feel pain. I could feel contractions on one side of my abdomen. I wasn't feeling it on the other side. My legs were dead. I didn't feel anything in my legs. But I could feel this one spot in my abdomen that told me, okay, you're contracting now. The issue with epidurals for me is that if somebody's not coaching you properly, you're gonna push when you're not supposed to push, because you have no connection with your body and you do not know when you're contracting. You don't know when to push. You cannot feel the baby moving. It's just very scary, because if the person who is telling you what to do doesn't know what they're doing, you're honestly going to be very lost, very confused, because you do not have any intel. Your body's shut down and you do not know what's going on. So somebody has to be able to coach you through the process properly in telling you when to push. And because I wasn't being coached properly, because there were way too many people speaking, to the point where they were pushing my husband away. I mean, he is a medical doctor, and they were like pushing him out of the way like crazy. But I find that people get anxious. You're the one that's in pain, and they're the ones that are being anxious. Like, you're not in pain, you shouldn't be anxious. You're the one that should be calm, delivering instructions to me. I'm the one that is supposed to be out of order and crazy. But people tend to feel the same emotions, and they start treating it like an emergency and everybody is chaotic, but that's not helpful. But anyway, they weren't coaching me properly, to be honest, and I couldn't feel anything, so I didn't know when to do what. And I did get second-degree lacerations from giving birth and had to get stitches, and when I got those stitches, they weren't clipped properly. So normally when you do your sutures, there are ends that need to be trimmed. They didn't trim those ends properly, and I guess because he didn't want it to be short where it would untie and then, you know, don't serve the purpose of a suture, I started feeling those ends sticking me. Once the epidural weared off, I started feeling the pain from the stitches sticking me, and that pain lasted for a very long time. But after my stitches fell out, I was still feeling something sticking me. That I can attribute to my postpartum depression. The pain that I was feeling from those stitches, I think, really kind of tipped me over the edge, being very, very angry and just being very upset. I mean, if you're hungry and you're in pain and you're breastfeeding and all these things are happening, it's very, very likely that you're going to be depressed or even angry and experience postpartum rage. A lot happened, guys. And I know this don't sound like a good birth story because I'm now talking about my postpartum experience, but let me just tell you, giving birth to my son was, I actually started worshiping as soon as he came out, and I realized that he was a boy because I didn't know what kind of baby I was having. I was super grateful. I started worshiping. My husband cried. He was the one that bawled. He cried when my baby came out, when our baby came out, and it was a beautiful experience, guys.
Okay, the numbers are very low. Good. Okay. I'm gonna do it one more time.
So low is what you want to see?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, low is good. And then do on his chest. Is this a onesie or a?
It's a onesie.
Okay. So maybe you can unsnap. Okay, great. Yeah. Continue to do the same number. I like it. That works for me.
Laboring is very hard. It's very hard, but when you have that baby to look at, it's worth it. It's gonna be worth it. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth. When you have that baby to look at, the process is just, it's a supernatural process. It's the closest you're gonna be to God. That process is the closest you'll be to God until you die, I guess. But very crazy, very, very crazy. And all I want to say to you, if you are actually, you know, planning to give birth for the first time, other than trusting God with this process, your process is going to be unique to you. You're gonna go through this process uniquely. Nobody else's story will be the same as your story, and sometimes you won't even be able to articulate what happened or how you felt. Like, I'm having a hard time articulating what it was like speaking, because I did write about it, and I think even I didn't give it any justice with my blog post either, because it's just hard to explain what that process is like. I remember just leaning against the bed, crying and asking God for mercy, because I remember being in so much pain. I remember being on the bed, and I remember my husband just holding my hands. My mother was filming. My sister was also pregnant, and she went into labor that day. because she was watching me give birth and she went into labor prematurely. A lot happened. My sister was on the video call that my mother was recording. So I have two sisters, both of them were present, one on video call and one in person. And I want to thank God for that day. You know why? In Jamaica, where I'm from, women don't give birth in the presence of their mothers and sisters and partners. There's one single hospital on the entire island that, or two, that will give you the luxury of choosing one person to be in that room with you. Most women give birth by themselves, and most of them are hit and shouted at and treated very, very poorly. There are women who give birth on benches. They don't give birth in a private room because they don't have that space. There are at least 10 women in the same space, sometimes 20 women giving birth at the same time, which means that your partners cannot be there because there are other women giving birth at the same time. It's a very unfortunate situation, and something I'm, I think I'm passionate about changing that. And I'm also passionate about women who get to stay with their children after you give birth. And that is why I educate on here, my little side hustle with Airbnb arbitrage, how you can make some money to stay at home with your children. You don't have to actually go out and work, if it's even for a little period of time, because it's hard to go through something like that and then not be able to stay at home with your children and even enjoy the fruits of that labor. So hopefully with time, God puts me in a position to make a change where that is concerned, because it's something that bothers me a lot. It's not good. It's not good. In here.
Anyway, guys, my battery is dying. I'm sorry about that. I'm just gonna call it quits right here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with another mom who would like to join me on my journey. Remember, my vision board, it's still there. That's my vision board. I'm not really doing anything towards it. That's a lie. I'll update you guys in another video, but stay tuned for my second birth story, where I'm going to talk about how I gave birth naturally to Israel, what that was like. And comment down below if you are a mom who's given birth, what your story was like, what your experience has been like. Again, I'm so grateful for the fact that I was able to give birth in a very small hospital, where my mother and my husband and my sisters could be there in the room, and I was able to go through that very sacred experience with God privately. That's something I would not have been able to experience if I were home. So God is good all the time, and all the time God is good.
Until next time, it's XOXO from RubieAllee.
Not calling the